Eve Needs Knowledge at 9 o'clock. Today I'm here with Jack Whitby, the director of The Whispers of Yesterday. Now Jack, when you were looking at your audience research, what is it that you found out?
So, obviously, in our day and age, I had a feeling this question would come up because audiences such as it's changing the way we perceive media. I'm a firm believer of how audience change what we see on screens today. For example, if we don't like something, we're not likely to see it air the next season. If we don't like a certain film, we're not going to see a sequel. They change what we see. So audience research and audience feedback was really crucial to me during the research and planning stages of Whispers of Yesterday. So obviously, so the question that you asked me is, what have I learned from my audience feedback? Is obviously my audience has helped me massively into making my media trailer, and it's all of the perception into all of my knowledge and time went into creating something that the audience would enjoy, and making sure my trailer film is what my audience want to see. There's no point making something if the audience didn't want to see it. So my audience are what will profit the movie. So I've listened to everything they wanted to see, and I gave them what they wanted as such in most cases. So they've helped me in a variety of different actions, because obviously any profit made from the film won't come from me or any of the guys in the film. It will come from the audience who want to come and see it.
So you went out and you actually asked people what they wanted to see within your...
Yes, I asked them, for example, I asked what they expected to see. So you could say, like, they got to say some of their favourite thriller films, and because of that, I was able to connect with that and what they wanted to see in movie posters and magazine front covers, to see what they expected, rather than asking them directly what they wanted to see as such. Because then this way, you can still keep to the media conventions, but also know what your audience want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we could show a quick clip of that, of me asking my audience.
I suppose, of course. You could say that looking at a gun just creates the kind of emotions of just fear and anger, and when you see a gun, you go, oh, and then suddenly your adrenaline starts pumping, and it really adds to the kind of intensity.
Have you got anything to say about maybe the editing of a thriller film or thriller film trailer as such?
Always fast-paced, always fast-paced. You look at, it's not always fast-paced, you've got to have some slow bits to add. And that's another thing I'd actually just quickly say. Kind of slow moments and adding character development, make your characters seem lifelike and realistic and really get an attachment to them, but all going back to the fast pace.
The music perspective.
So in like a typical thriller film, you usually get like really intense music. So it's usually like building up to something and creates a lot of suspense. So particularly like if there's like a lot of action happening on screen, then the music will be really like action packed and kind of like build up that tension. And also like when like characters go around a corner or something, and something's about to jump out of them, it's usually like there's silence and then there's like a big like noise, like drums or something.
Back, someone I know that will win the fight. I also like I wouldn't like them to speak a lot. I like them to be quite badass, like you have to, so they can be intimidating really. And that's what.
So you don't like them to have too much dialogue to kind of take away from their character. Okay, and as a quick question, what is your favourite thriller film in your personal opinion?
My favourite thriller film is has to be Jaws.
Okay, so after we've watched that clip, so I asked my audience a series of feedback on many of the projects. So this includes ideas and comments on movie posters, magazine front covers, thriller film trailers, and much more, as we just saw. And I'll be starting with the audience feedback I received for my film name, which obviously I eventually called Whispers of Yesterday. Whispers of Yesterday didn't come out. There was many feedback gave to me, and I had many films lined up, and I chose the best one to take out to the public and to see what they thought of this first name, expecting that, even though I really liked the name This Was Yesterday, I expected them to say no, they didn't like it, and then I take it back to the drawing board and then bring them another one. But it turns out Whispers Yesterday was quite popular with the public.
So did you have a selection for yourself to choose from to take out to your audience then?
Yeah, I did. On my blogger, I actually did a video on all the film titles that I came up with, all with their own posters, so that people watching the blog could see my first initial ideas. And obviously I took the best one in my opinion and took it out to the public to see what they thought of it. So they gave me lots of ideas, and they didn't even suggest any changes to the title. The audience feedback came in the form of a questionnaire, as well as, because obviously I asked questionnaires and went out and asked the audience personally.
Do you feel that gave you more of a variety of answers?
Going out and asking the people is probably more personal. You get more of a personal response, and it's not all. Sometimes if you give someone a questionnaire, they don't always answer it full-heartedly. But the questionnaire allowed you to ask more questions, because obviously people don't have time to sit around and ask the questions if they're on the way to work and stuff, or on the way to sixth form. They don't have time to let me ask them a huge range of questions. So they both had positive and negatives. You get a more heartfelt answer, even though that answer you may only get to ask one question, but you also could get a more detailed and more questions answered, but maybe not as much heartfelt. And also they mostly gave me positive feedback and said it sounded like a typical thriller film movie title. And they continue to say that the title creates mystery and didn't give too much away about the film, which I thought was a massive positive. And though I did come up with other names, I picked the best one for the audience, and if they didn't like it, I would choose my second favourite until a name was chosen, and a name that made my audience excited to see the film. Luckily, the audience liked the first one I picked, Whispers Yesterday, which made it far easier for me to pick a title, and I was quite happy that they let me pick this title. So obviously, the next, I asked about 4 audience researches, and the next one I did was on the storyline. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what you think is most important about in a thriller film, but I feel that in pretty much any film, storyline is one of the key elements that you need to have perfect.
Well, without a storyline, you wouldn't have a story, would you?
Exactly, and that's kind of the whole point of why people come to see the film. So I had to make sure the storyline was almost perfect. I asked my audience and explained to them what my storyline was, and they answered what they thought about the idea. The idea got positive feedback, and the audience said how they like it to be intense and suspenseful. The storyline itself has got to have quite a lot of tension in it. It can't be like a comedy for a thriller film. It's got to be full heart suspense and intense. And obviously, I don't know if you've seen the trailer, but I think that succeeded.
Yes, I believe so too. Here's a quick clip of some more of the trailer.
Okay, so now you've watched the trailer. We'll continue with the storyline. And so now you've got it's quite good that we shoot that clip there, because now people have kind of an idea of what the storyline for my trailer is. So they said it links in with the title, which also is a good thing. As this means the title is not too random for the storyline. They've got to kind of connect in some ways. Though the storyline's not based about Whispers of Yesterday, it's about what happened in the past and how it's all rumours. So it does link in as such. Some also say that it's not an overcomplicated title, and there's enough story, and it's enough to drive the narrative along. So the storyline's not too overcomplicated, but it's got enough twists and turns in there to make sure that it's enjoyable.
Has an easy flow to it as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to have an easy flow to that. Otherwise, if it's too complicated, audiences won't tend to enjoy the film as much as they possibly could. Also, the first storyline idea I had turned out not to be as good as the first one I thought, because I actually had an original storyline which people didn't really like, so I had to come back to the drawing board and then take this one out on the streets. And the other one didn't even get to make it to the audience research. It was turned down within the group of people that I worked with to say that it wasn't good enough. Though I kept the basis of the story and the audience seemed to like it, I did have to go back up and because obviously a serial killer was the original idea, and that's not very creative in my opinion, so I didn't really want to share it with the audience until I had the final idea that I liked. So even though it was going to be based on a storyline serial killer, it just didn't really have the creativity that I wanted.
There's also a lot of films and storylines with serial killers in them.
Exactly, and they're not always thriller films, like sometimes horror films. So I did have to take it back from the drawing board, and I'm glad I did, because I feel that Whispers Yesterday was a much more unique title and a storyline, and felt much more impactful to my audience. So obviously, I asked about the storyline and title for my film, but I couldn't forget about my ancillary tasks, my movie poster, which goes with the film, and also the magazine front cover. So I had to ask about these as well, and I'll start by talking to the magazine front cover, which we could put up behind me. The magazine front cover, I asked my audience what they expected to see in like a normal movie magazine, and so I knew what to put onto mine, so that so it looked professional. It had to look professional, make sure it looked like a film that had to look like a real movie magazine. Often they refer to big movie magazines, companies such as Empire and Total Film, which I'm sure you've heard of, which was good. And this meant I could also analyse what they did, which I did a video on my blog post. I analysed what they did and what I need to have in my trailer. Sorry, not my trailer, my magazine front cover. And then transfer that into my movie magazine front cover. They gave me key ideas to make my masthead bold and like make it stand out, so that it looked important and stand out to the audience.
Did you have drafts to show them as well? So you made one and then asked them on opinions, or?
Yeah, I had a draft of a magazine front cover, and it was nowhere near the quality of my final one. It really needed shaping up, and you can go onto my blog post now and you can see the previous magazine front cover and then see the changes I made and see how much better it turned out. In my opinion, the difference was not perfect, but definitely made a massive jump into making it look much more realistic. And obviously, the title and mastheads, you've got to make sure that they got to stand out. So I spent a lot of time changing and rearranging mastheads to make sure it fit. And they also mentioned how I could include posters from other thriller film movies to entice my audience to come buy the magazine, as well as advertise free movie posters on the cover of movies of other people that I worked with. For example, the director Liam Michaels for Retribution. That was on that was advertised on the front of my magazine front cover, as well as Tamika Young's directed drawings was also on there. So it allowed for much more publicity to other people, which also helps if they've seen their films. They might say, "Oh, I've seen that film. What's this film like?" And obviously having the link between us all really helped out. And obviously the final one I went on was I asked my audience about real movie posters. So my other ancillary task, posters, and that I had already come up with. I wanted to ask my audience what they expected to see from a movie poster, and what it is I should have on it, which gave me many ideas from some of their favourite movie posters. And I analysed these posters to give me further understanding of what I needed on my poster. Much like we did for the movie magazines, it was basically the same process of asking them what they liked, researching them, analysing them, draft, back, and then the final one. And even though my previous magazine poster was my film poster was not as good as the final one, of course. And obviously, so these audience researchers really do help, and audiences know what they want to see, and they know exactly what we need to add in. So I made sure all my ears were open for them. My audience said that my poster had to link with the theme of the story of the thriller film, which obviously I did, I believe. However, some of the brilliant ideas my audience gave me, I could not actually include in the final product, as I was incapable of pulling off their great ideas for my poster. So I had to keep it kind of basic and make sure that it delivered the intense theme of the film and captured the audience's eye. But some of the ideas some of the audience had were kind of too advanced for my capabilities and for my team, so we couldn't actually use all of their great ideas. We just had to kind of pinch bits to try and make it as good as they would like to see. This meant I had to let my audience down a bit, which I really didn't want to do. But at the same time, it still made sure the font stood out and that the poster looked professional for the audience to look at. So they could have maybe, much as my son and myself fans, you can have the posters up in your bedrooms. So that's what we kind of wanted to focus on, seeing them look nice on bedrooms and outside cinemas. But also we couldn't make it as professional as we'd like to we couldn't use all the audience ideas, but we did what we could.
For the viewers at home, could we give them a quick look at this poster?
Yeah, the poster could be behind me. So obviously that was all the. And we got. I can say I got lots of feedback on how to improve my work and how to. They helped me decide. They helped me decide what they wanted to see as such, so I could deliver what they wanted to see, the voice of the people, you could say. So it was important that I got opinions on my film, poster, and magazine front cover to make sure it was as authentic as possible. And overall, my audience has been giving mostly positive feedback to me and my whole research and planning and delivery task media product. And yeah, there were some negatives, but sometimes you've got to make negatives into a positive and make them even better. And this has shown me how important audience is for making a good film. If you listen to the audience, and you're guaranteed to have a smash hit every time. So audiences were so important in the research and planning and the final stretch of pulling off Whispers of Yesterday, as long as all the posters and research that went with making the film.
Okay, thank you, Jack. That's all for today, guys. I hope you have a wonderful evening.
The world don't need heroes, it needs realists. I'm not a good guy, I just do what I've got to do to get through. I'm just a necessary evil. One thing I've learned from all this, yesterday haunts tomorrow. Sad thing is, they all think I'm dead. They don't know I watch. But when she stopped visiting, I knew something was wrong.
Right, but someone's after your family. You're gonna need to go after them before they get your family. Take these.
Thank me on death for the well-being of my family, but it didn't work. I only have one piece of family left, and I'm not losing her.
Uncle John?
And now, it's time for business.
Shit.
1, 2, 3. And all the talk that goes around are just the whispers of yesterday. This is my rise from the ashes, and I'm not wasting it.